No, computer. Now, computer's problem is, yeah, you cannot manage a computer. So what happened? Seriously. It works now? Are you sure? What happened to your computer? Huh? No. Already half an hour is gone. Yeah, Taro Terikaton Trechand so Hook Yatens Menota Tati Tandakagu Tangumindak. Tan Trechayana and a young man attached to the Trecha Vechuhiano Kejachihu. I'm says. These days, all the technologies is not reliable. Or maybe controller of the persons do not understand how to control. But some problems. I think now you are there, or maybe you already run. It doesn't matter, we can just start. Woman choosing you podoni to sonji can you go yet. Ronsen chukung on so tunze pa po or pa, I don't know. Savla Mishabla Sorban did Dawson Rovolon na chula yer Susan Dumachenda Chejin Chen. Near so me pon Hiva Jella so, same chenton near the Dawchen na Tambanam Jenin to Zardo. So, oh yeah. Now it's someone's need to run. Their own electronic gadget doesn't work. It doesn't work? Huh? Someone this more early, run, preparing. Or maybe not. Reality, internet is okay. But computer problems. They are just newer cappuccino put on the computer and they don't prepare. Then we cannot be on timers. Yes? Okay. Am I distracted to your mind? No. Your mind is a very much stability, and your mind is a really stable, calm, and abiding. Okay, anyway, please generate bodhicitta. I think it is very important. The meaning of the bodhicitta, it is a really beautiful mind. Kind mind. When you not angry, and also it's like you have such sympathetic towards to the me or to others, and also you are really calm and quiet from your disturbing emotions. It is wonderful. You are really very much wonderful. It's a double or triple 100 wonderful. That is the part of the compassion. Of course, if you concern to others' situation, like for example, you should to be very much intelligent and to investigate, analyze, to check out what am I need? Am I right? Or in your perspective? And I'm kind of asked to you. And also, did you check or are you checking to the other situation? For instance, your family, friend, closer to your someone's. And even your pets, even your animal, and even your the kind of the societies, whoever closer to you, did you check or not? Of course, like someone is who is like me, looks like me, only concerning I myself. In the morning, where I can get delicious coffee, comfortable, need to get breakfast. Even if I go to in the kitchen, not much concerning to the others. Maybe there's some other families. And to pouring into the tea pour into the cup, forget it others. First to put in my cup. And some families coming, did you make tea? Oh, yes, sorry. There is, you can go pick up your cup, but also tea is almost finished. Then it's like this. But some is like great compassionate. Really someone's kind, they never do like this. I need to make bread, tea, something. It's not how many their families. And first time they learn and to give to other family. And this sort of families is a wonderful, lovely. And you should to become the lovely family to others, the others of the sentient beings. And last couple days, we traveled into most lowest realms. And we call it's the last and the depth of the inferior state. Realms, it's called the hell realms. And they are like kind of the computer controller is like a monkey, doing something, and then there's a lot of interruption. They're almost at a break in the headphones, computers, and then on times they're never ready. Not really internet, sorry to say. They think they are really master of their computers, but they are not. And then it's like something's putting in the head. Sometimes they put it in the nose. Sometimes they put it in the mouth. And then it doesn't work. Oh, we need to wait in half an hour. And then they're showing it's like this. Too late. I'm going to home. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, I'm come back. You are there? Okay. Yeah, I think we understood those realms. But today is okay, I'm direct. Bring. Or I'm going to visit and lower inferior state of second. It's called the pretas. really. But this title is called the lower state of the Pritas, but they 2 point the Pritas. And the meaning of the Pritas in French is Pritas mange beaucoup frise. Sorry. And then there's problems with the Pritas. And the Prita means it is like kind of the feeling of the hungry, feeling of the thirsty, and they mind us day and night concerning food and water and tea and coffees. But they can't get. It is like kind of they are in the desert, you know. It's, for example, we can to look some film and documentaries. Someone fell into the middle of the desert and very hot sun, and also the sand is hot, no water, no food. They are traveling. Then they burn the ear, nose, mouth, stomach, everything. They thinking, looking for where, searching for the water. This is like nothing compared to the Pritas. The mind is like completely desperated. Mind is really too much concerning food, water, and the mind is distress, anxiety. Therefore, we call the Pritas, not freeze. But anyway, and we need to explore. There's some this kind of situations occur some in our families. Yes, that is like really. We can to say is really there is some country or land, and also it's like something is like state existent or not existent, who knows? Difficult. Because all the appearances, it's self-appearances, projected our minds. And those appearances, the continent, state, or the realms, really truly existence or something there is, we can destroy it. Then nobody's don't need to go to there, but not like this. And according to the habitual tendencies, and some beings perceive this kind of ugly appearances, like a kind of the feeling there's no food, no drink. And maybe it's like our really the sensual mind. The mind really need food, water, anything. Maybe real mind don't need. The real mind itself is need or not need. Everything is absent. There's absent of the causalities. There is no existence of the, whole of the samsara. They say like this, it's maybe reality is the truth. I analyze. This morning I ate some new pizza. Oh, sorry, no. Chua bread. And when I eat, really this food it doesn't go into my mind. This food is going to stomach and emerge or dissolve into the stomach. And the body's eat it, not mind. Then really mind, why mind you are hungry? Why mind you are thirsty? And according your mind is hungry, thirsty, you have ugly appearances of the situation you call the pretas. But then mind replied, it's true. Causing the disturbing emotions is there are, if you more check, this mind told me, it's really difficult to find those disturbing emotions. But it's naturally occurring into the mind, into me, me means mind. They can create, they can produce, and they're very much productive and make different feeling of the disattachment, feeling of the hunger, feeling of the thirsty, feeling of the hatred, this sort of. If you really to check me, to deeply understand me, that means mind saying, you don't need any at all. Everything is theirs. This is really like this. But anyway, I'm telling to you the nonsense things. I'm going to check, investigate, or explore this state. There are two sorts of the pretas. Sorts of the preta. Preta is the plural. Sometimes they put singular. But here is the sorts of preta. Okay? Those who live collectively and those who move through space. And here is the question someone say. It is in Tibet. Shin na nipa. Shin na nipa. And some is a pretas living in the shinnas. Shin normally it is the depth or the deepest. And some is like a sinked into the deep of the ocean. Here is the meaning. Shina means it is living like kind of those collective pretas, collective and collective. Collective is like kind of communities. Those are the kind of the uncertainty place. And you can to say it's like a kind of in the space. You can to say Shina. You can to say in the deep of the water. You can to say Shina of the water. And maybe it's also they are living in the deep of the earth. You can to say Sai Shina. And also you can to say it's like they are living in the fire. That means it's like those are the living Shina of fire. The deep means insight and uncertainty. For example, you say, if living in the space, this is not a kind of depth. Yes, it is depth, because in the space. But it's like kind of the word we can say, this is a depth, but others compared, maybe this is also very depth. And uncertainty areas like this. Therefore, we say it's like the first sort of the pretas, and we call the collective. Collective. Collective means it's the general pretas, living kind of the everywheres. Those who are moved through the space. Those space means it's like kind of traveling, moving into the space. And like this. Okay, then it's like there is a the live collective pretas are 2.1. Pretas who live collective one, these pretas suffer from different perspective. we need to understand. Like in Tibet, Hyödapachan, Nongdapachan, Gukurjidapachans, there are 3 types of difference. In English, they say this, the some pritas is called the suffering from external. And of course, the explanation is coming. Some they are like suffered internally, from internal. Some those pritas suffered from the specific obscurations. And the collective pritas are divided like 3 categorizations. And then it's like 1 point, 1 point, 1 point. Oh no. And there is like the first one is prita suffering from external. External is the outside obscurations. External obscuration, which kind of obscurations to make externally suffered? That is very important to think. And these pritas are torment by extreme hunger and thirst. Centuries and centuries passed without they even hearing any mention of the waters. That is a problem, externally obscurations. Like I would to say is like external obscuration. Maybe it's like according to the inner negative habitual tendencies, difficult to perceive some appearances of the water, food, some things. And this is like more externally. We can, in the relatively, you thirsty or not thirsty inside. Normally, we need to externally to need some drop, just the object of the drink things, water, tea, coffee. Then we say, oh, I want to drink. And of course, when we're thirsty, we are looking the butt. And the relatively, in order to dispel our thirsty and hunger, we need to contact external object of the food and the water. Therefore, it's like, as far as my understanding, external obscurations, it's like there is no appearances of the food and some waters. Maybe like there's more emphasized, but maybe also you need to check. And concentratedly obsessed with food and drink. They search for them endlessly because they're difficult to see. And the appearance is like kind of the cover over it, obscurations. And this is maybe is very much truth. Maybe it's like kind of the between us. Maybe I'm living in now Dharmasi temple. There are some noble sanghas. We are living together, and maybe some in the between us, there's maybe some creatures. Maybe they want to see us, but they need to some habitual tendencies. But they can't, maybe they don't see us. Also, we need some specific tendencies in order to see them, but we can't to see them. And like this, like the collective pritas, particularly external obscurations, they haven't got any appearances of the water and food, but in the mentally, they are really like candle torch or the torment by the hunger and the thirsties, but never finding the water or the kind of food without ever finding even the tiniest trace. And there's a kind of the nothing. For example, someone's very much thirsty, no kind of the water, and they dig ground. If they got some fresh earth, and also they put mouth and stomach, it's a little kind of help. But maybe in the preta, some in their feeling, their appearances, all like kind of object is completely external in everything's die up. Then there's no kind of the weightness things. Even these situations, then it's very difficult. From time to time, sometimes there's one French speaker, someone asked, do you speak English? English? Some, like this. Some time to times, far away, they catch sight of a stream of the clearly pure water, like kind of like a mirage. Even some animals, antelopes, when they see the kind of the mirage, you do know, in the hot weather, will be in the desert. There's something looks like water moving. Then they're going to searching. Some of those animals, their hoof is like lost in the sand. And then they cannot move because hoof is gone. Then it's blood meat. Then they put in the hot sand. They're so pain, and then they're going to die. Like this kind of also these pretas, sometimes they kind of imagine, and they can to see that something is like a stream, like maybe it's like sound is water, looks like water, pure crystal. But their joy are too fragile. And they like kind of the arms, legs, grass-like, their limbs. To take the higher habits or weight of their bellies. Bellies is really a big. You know, it's like the huge, the bellies of the kumbhaka. It's so big, very difficult to carry. And they get there, what they sight, only with great pain, because you saw that sometimes, like some actors, they do to be in the desert, they're like this. Of course, this is acting. Or maybe someone is this really two situations happened. And it's like pretas 100% this often. The great pain because they like kind of the joys are the very fragile and easily to break, weak, difficult carrying their bellies. Pain and arrive utterly exhausted, utterly or the purely, absolutely they are exhausted. Only to suffer even more than they found that the water. And searching to like the water is so difficult, has completely died up. When they be to theirs, there's no water. when they are like kind of the imagined or the some hallucinated, the water, what they saw, be near, there's nothing water, absolute evaporated and died up. There's living nothing but the stony river bed. And like kind of we have like this, if you see some Africa areas, summer sometimes very dry weather, and huge rivers, the trace is a completely stony river bed. There's no water, only small stones, hot, difficult to travel inside. They can see like this, then there is no water. And sometimes they see on orchard of fruit trees in the distance. Orchard of the fruit trees. And like kind of the beautiful trees, looks like a lot of fruits, and make him more hungry, make him more thirsty, like same as we are. We can to make maybe like a practice nyoni, or don't eat, drink few days. Then you see the some food and fruits or waters looks like very delicious. Even maybe this food or fruits is not, but when you see by eye, it's immediately you want. Like they are like according to their own hallucination or the kind of the diluted perspective. They saw in the far from, there is like kind of the orchard of fruit trees. In the distance, maybe looks like some in the far a mile. Then of course they need to run towards those orchard of the fruit. As before, they approach, but when they arrive, they find that the huge trees are all dried up and withered, like a kind of fire wood. There's no leaf, no flower, only like kind of dry up, completely like kind of, if you ever touch, it's kind of broken, falling down. There's nothing kind of, maybe also this trees are the horrible become. And like this is we can to say external obscuration pritas. Whatever you see perceived externally, there's nothing can see the food and drink things. Obscured they mind us about in order to see, in order to have appearances of food and drinkers. Sometimes they see an abundance of the food and drink, and that kind of the someone's prepared, like kind of the table, and there is like a very decorated food, like abundance of the food and drinks. Other pleasant things, maybe there is something, many different things, looks like all the what you need in order to eat, drink, how you can to eat, drink, which kind of you need contain, cup, pellets. Looks like everything pleasantly to think. And when they see like this, then they also run towards there. But when they get near, they find that is it guided by a large number of the armed men who chase and beat them with their weapons, causing them great pain. And like a dream. And it is like to see this kind of appearances, and according to the karmic or the negative tendencies, perceive this kind of hallucinations, to run to there. Of course, reality, there's no food, no preparation, any kind of to eat, drinks. But there is a riot, looks like you can to touch, you can to really to pick up, and you hungrily, thirstily, I don't know to have adverb, but I'm using thirstily, maybe not. And when you are thirsty, but there are such horrible unkindness guide. Maybe there also is the hallucination. Maybe there's no guardians. But we perceive something very strange, guardians. And we are trying to thief to pick up, but they stick, knife, hammer, and they beat you. And these kind of hallucinations occur. Sometimes even our life. There was one person, retreater. He was in the solitude place, living in the small tent. He kind of meditate. Suddenly he's become very much diluted. His feeling is one big yuck enter into his tent. He'll kind of make noise to say, go away. But yuck, of course, not very aggressively enter into the tent. And he lost his temperature, and he picked up one stick and beat this yuck. And the yuck also is want to some attack to him. They are fighting maybe hours. And certainly, and he say, why I beat this animal? Maybe it's doesn't matter the animal, they broke my tent. Animal needs something, oh yes, like Cain says, my teachers, think of me, what is going on? Suddenly he wake up, his tent is okay, but his teapot is absolutely broke, and he's carrying stick, and the teapot is completely smashed. His hallucination is teapot is become the yuck. There's no existence of yuck. This kind of the diluted hallucination and confusions, then this kind of appearance is occurring. Therefore, and according to their obscurations, and they see the diluted food, drink, they run towards there is. Those food and drinks is disappeared, but there's again appear horrible things, guardians, like army, police, very unkind of the kindness, like Yemen's henchmen. They chase into them, beat them, and kill them, and they do ugly things. And this is like kind of the collective, particularly externally obscuration practice like this. Therefore, in the summer, even the moonlight feels hot as possible, can burn them. In the winter times, even the sun feel the ice, can frozen to them, and cold, and that is we call the external obscurations. I may say it's like kind of why they call the external obscurations. Because whatever they perceive, the external things, everything is obscurated. Never is it become the truth. For example, we say it's like, we are not the pretas, we haven't got much external obscurations. When we see the water, we go to there, there's real water. We can do swimming, we can do drink. And maybe there's no water. Maybe someone's perspective, they look at, maybe we are like eating rock. But maybe we think we are drinking water. And maybe someone think we are drinking earth. Maybe we are like eating the trees. Maybe we are just drinking space. But for our perspective, there's no obscurations. What we perceived looks like real. When we see the fire, can burn. Water, we can drink. Food, we see, we can to eat. Also, we can to feel. We go, the food, drink, going to stomach. And this is like kind of the individual coding the habitual tendencies. The different tendencies comes from the different positive and negative actions. And therefore, the karmic appearances are the completely depends on our mind is different. And this sensation torture them terribly. And there is the kind of the history. Once when Sharana is the student of the Buddha Shakyamuni, has in the land of the Pretas, he traveled, and some in the land of the Pretas. Maybe that means it's like in India, maybe there is not, I never saw, I traveled in India. There's not land of the Pretas. But like kind of the Sharana, he can to see the land of the Pretas. Then he can to communicate to them. And like, for example, in our human beings, sometimes we say it's like your inner obscuration is, and more lesser, maybe you have different aversion. Someone say, I can see, and I can to hear. Sometimes it's possible. And like this, and you have different appearances. Therefore, maybe Shana went to the land of the Pretas, means he can to communicate, he talk. He found there were avarice, or avarice. Avarice? Avarice, not avarice. So, poisonous, that is the given him a fever, and his mouth became completely dry. And it's kind of the avarice, it's a stinginess, and kind of the sense loss. And this kind of become the poisoned. Of course, and we are like the cause of the rebirth in the Pretas. It comes from the avarice or the stinginess, and like this. And according to this kind of the avarice stinginess, some is like poisons influence or the kind of the transmit to him, and he was become more thirst, and then his mouth is very much die up. He suffered a little bit. He came across in an iron castle, big, huge, black, plastered by the nuances. No. At the whose door stood a terrifying, somber figure with red eyes. Somber figures, black, and eyes are completely red. This kind of guardians in the door of this iron castles living there. He asked, "Where's the summer water?" And Shana asked to him. Shana asked, at this word, across of the pretas, water, waters. All the looking like the lumber of the burnt wood, and all the looking like limb of the burnt wood, like half some firewood is half is burnt, half is not. Looks like this kind of piece. It is really some beings or some things. It's terrified, this kind of those body of the pretas. Looks like this. Came mailing around. Mailing around means it's like to be a surround of the Sharanas. Him. Begging, say, great perfect being, give us waters. You said it's like cold the water. And if you have water, please give to us. You looks like a really, is like a great perfect being. Handsome, it's like beautiful. And you can call, repeat the water. Where is the water? You are talking about waters. And they says, I have found known myself. Himself, he says, Shanas, answered him. And to say, to searching the water, I couldn't find water. It is for you to give me some. That means it's like if you find water, also to give me some. And then is the pretas to replies. What do you mean? If you find, give me some water. What do you mean? A great perfection being. Replied the pretas. We were born in this pretas land 12 years ago. Maybe it's like the humans, this maybe compare the years. Until today, we have never even heard as much as the mention of the water. Never heard the water. Today we heard the water, so happy. When you call the water, it's like repeat or someone say the water, we kind of really feel desire, hurry up, kind of enthusiastic to find quickly. 12 years we even heard about the waters. That is the external obscuration pretas in the amount of, or in the main part of the collective pretas. And now it is the second 2.1.2 said, preta or suffering from eternal obscuration. Yadok nong depachens, nong depach. And that's probably you know. I'm more checking why you say the external obscurations, eternal obscurations, and specifically obscurations, something same. Here is now it's like internal obscurations, how they can occur. These pretas have mouth, no bigger than the eye of a needle. Wow, so big, yes. Even the thread is difficult to go through. No need to mention for the food and the water. Even were they too drunk, how they can? Because the size of the eye of a needle. All the water in the great oceans. And the mouth is very small, and also is the thyroid. When they maybe is get some waters, by the time it had passed down their throat, thyroid or throat, the throat is very, very tiny, which are as the narrow as horse hair, or horse hair, human hair, so tiny. It's difficult to go through this and the tires. The heat of their breath would have evaporated it. And also it's like when they a little bit put water, it's possible from the tiny, like a mouth. We can to look at some animals, huge animal, very small mouth. Huge animal, the throat is very tiny. And then it's like they have such a fever. And it's hot. Even they a little bit put water on the mouth and they drink, but mouth and between this throat and die up, it much doesn't come into the stomach. Even where they somehow to swallow a little, the stomach or stomachs, or you have plural stomachs, oh yes, which are the size of the whole countries, like a kind of the so huge. Then his mouth is small, throat is very tiny, but stomach is so big. We can to imagine when we are eating, when we are hungry, our mouth is very big. Sometimes the one is hungry, and someone serves to us the food, meal, into the nice pellets. And we try to pick up a knife and the forks or the spoon. And we put half of the meal on the mouth. But we can to swallow. And also it's like throat is very big and you go to the stomach. If luckily it's no problem. But be careful, become very fat. You should tune well. I mean, it's like very lucky. We are not have internal obscurations about the body. I understand now. The internal obscuration means these problems, they physically, the body. And like this, those are like kind of, mouth is awful, too small, the size of the eye of the needle. Thyroid is very tiny. It's the most tiny, like hair of the horse. How is the food, drink to go through this? But sometimes too much, they thirst hungry, they like kind of swallowed. But they come in very tiny, maybe dope, like kind of coming to the stomach. But stomach is so huge. The whole country would never be filled up, or filled. Even if finally enough to satisfy them, we ever to get into their stomachs. And then it's like a kind of during the night, what happened? It would burst into flames. This little bit went into the stomach during the night and burned their lungs. And they burn from this stomach and affect to their lung, their coals, they burn. They had problems, heart attacks. The problems entail, means in the intestine. Everything is making problems. Problematic, yes, that's true. And like this, when they want to move, they have the internal obscurations. They cannot leave. They gogetic. Jagetic or jagetic or gagetic. Gigantic or gigantic. It's a very difficult word, gigantic. Gogetic. Gigantic. Ballets is so big. It's like kind of the whole country is same. Gigantic belly. With their like grass is like limp. And then it looks like sometimes we can to look the cartoon in some it's like persons created. Huge stomach, round. Legs are really like kind of grass. Arms, mouth. And like this kind of, they may be imitating about the pretas. And this caused them immense sufferings that we understood inner like kind of obscurations. Okay, maybe we can to stop 5 minutes, not 5 minutes. Okay, I want to stop there. 11:15 we start, okay? 11:45. 11:45 start. Because you didn't start camera, I stayed here so long time. I need to drink cappuccino. Okay, we can to start 11:45. 11:45, not 11:15. 11:45. Okay.